The Supreme Court has spoken on health care in America. Can Connecticut be a leader in the health care reform movement? Before we talk about that, we'll talk about John Roberts' role as Supreme Court Justice. We're joined by Bilal Saku, UHAR Assistant Political Professor, one of our regular associate. Okay, I want to get that right. I know you professors have that. I know that title is very important. Associate. I just call you the Prof. Again, joined by Francis Padilla, the Executive Vice President, the Universal Health Care Foundation of Connecticut, and Dr. Nwando Olaiwola from the Community Health Center, Inc. So let's talk about Roberts first, because there was a swing vote, 5-4. A big surprise was Roberts being the swing vote. He's considered a conservative, a guy who would swing on the conservative side. How relevant was his vote in this? And what does this mean long-term for the Supreme Court and where it begins to swing? Yeah.
Well, the obvious is it's 9 justices. 4 were in favor of the law, 4 were against the law. And so Robert obviously was the swing vote, which was unusual for him. I mean, most people thought Anthony Kennedy would be the person who would be the swing vote. So Roberts took on a much different role than what was expected of him about the case. And so, you know, certainly he played a very important role, because he did something no one expected him to do, and he made an argument about why he thought the law should be upheld that also surprised a lot of people as well.
Does he lose his conservative card now? They yanked that card from him and he's now more of a moderate?
I think right now there's a lot of people who are angry and frustrated with the decision, but you know, if you look at his record on the court, you know, he doesn't lose his conservative credentials at all. And I think, you know, for people who are progressives or liberals, you know, they aren't quite prepared to throw him in their camp either. So, yeah.
Were you too surprised, healthcare advocates? Were you surprised by the vote? When it first came out, news broke that they were going to overturn the decision. Then the news came out and it got accurate. Were you all surprised about the voting patterns of this?
Well, we were certainly surprised about Justice Roberts, and we understood it. You know, some pundits have analyzed it as really him sending a signal about not wanting the court to reflect what the Congress is really caught up in right now, which is a stalemate, and there is no progress in either direction, and wanting the court to not be caught up in that, and that health care wasn't going to be wasn't going to be held hostage. And so the decision is a decision that most people can live with in terms of
depending on who you talk to, right?
Well, depending on who you talk with. Certainly, you know, the people that I talk to most of the time. That's right. But it is, you know, the idea of the individual mandate being a tax is something that I think really needs to be broken down. People need to understand that the individual mandate, first of all, was the idea of the insurance industry, and the original analytical work for an individual mandate was done by the Conservative Heritage Foundation.
Okay, that's the background.
Quite a few years ago.
But it being a tax, so they're saying that the only way to overturn it is to overturn the president, is to get him out of office, correct? So how, that's a different side of this now. He's making his ruling, Roberts, with a caveat that if you want to overturn this, you have to overturn the person who's imposing the quote-unquote tax. Now, what does that mean? What are your thoughts on that? Yeah. You guys jump in on that this is a tax.
Well, I mean, obviously, the 2012 presidential election is very critical. And, you know, not just the presidency, but also, I think, Congress, particularly the Senate. You know, if the Republicans are able to win all 3, for example, I mean, it puts them in a position where they can make a shot at trying to change the law. I think it would still be difficult, because I think you're going to need 60 in the Senate in order to be able to do it. And no one's projecting that the Republicans will get 60 seats to be able to do it. So Democrats will be in a position to, I think, you know, fight an outright repeal of the law. But certainly I think there are elements of it that the Republicans can attack, and they will, you know, take every opportunity to do that. And of course, a Romney presidency would be one in which he would choose not, for example, to actually execute certain aspects of the law.
And we're going to talk more about that in the third segment. You're all alone, me and you solo, just talking about the presidential impact. But let's go back now to the bill itself. How do you sell this thing to people already who are in the United States? So many folks aren't really aware of what the elements are. They're confused by it, and I find that to be profound, that probably 8 out of 10 people aren't really still clear about why this is good. Why is that occurring, and how do you change that?
I'll just add that it's a very difficult, it's a new language for a lot of people to really understand what this means, and what this means for me right here in my house with my family and my children and my community. And one of the things that I think is very important for those of us that are working with people that are going to be affected by this or that are going to be now coming into the system is to really help distill this information down to the level that they understand and take it away from, you know, the big rulings and the detailed medical legal language and make this something that people understand. And that's the challenge, I think, more than anything before us, is to really make sure people understand, because people, you know, this has turned into really an emotional argument. It's not really about the substance of the act itself, and so I'm hoping we can change that.
Yeah, people understand having a child stay on until 26. They understand that. They understand having a pre-existing condition and how that helps you. So I'm just surprised there hasn't been more selling of individual stories, folks who have benefited. I know the full bill won't really kick into 214, but there are individual stories out there that I thought some of the folks on the ground would be selling more, so people understand, okay, here's why it's important.
Well, there are a lot of people with stories about pre-existing conditions. For example, very terrible stories. You know, young couple, both of them working, but earning basically, you know, working poor people with a tumor on the back of the leg, and this tumor just being growing and growing, and unable to go to the doctor because they lack insurance, and still not wanting to see an individual mandate, even though they understand that the Affordable Care Act would help them as people dealing with a pre-existing condition. We got to break that down. We have to, in part, if people really feel in the United States you can't be forced to do anything. But the fact remains that insurance is about pooling risk. So you can't have insurance with everyone in the pool having illness, because then you have to continue to, you have to pay. You have to pay out on claims.
You have to have those who are taking care of themselves, right? Reward.
Well, you can, but you have to have everyone, healthy people and people who are sick, in the pool in order to mitigate, to spread the risk. And then when you get sick, the money that's gone into that pool helps take care of you.
Right.
All right? And when we break that down, and right now this whole issue around the tax, well, it's a tax if you refuse to buy insurance after you have been offered a subsidy. If you qualify for a subsidy, there are subsidies to be...
it's a penalty, basically, right?
It's a penalty, right. But the Supreme Court chose to interpret it as a tax.
All right. See, even that gets, as you start talking, even that gets muddy, because then it gets into... I think people don't care about the tax, so they want to know what's in it for me. They want this big bill. They know it's controversial, and they know that. And I think what's happening, people don't keep it focused enough on what is in it for them. We got to wrap now. You guys went over that, but I think that's going to be a challenge for you all as you continue what's in it for people, and we'll continue the conversation. We know that the bill here in Connecticut, or what's happening here in Connecticut, could be groundbreaking as far as this new program.
We're moving forward in Connecticut. We're going to be able to offer people affordable, quality health care.
In 2014.
In 2014, they're going to have a chance to get subsidies. Small businesses have an opportunity to get tax credits so they can offer health insurance.
And it'll be in layman's language, so we'll all understand it.
It will be in layman's language.
Even I'll understand it, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, we come back, folks. We'll talk about the politics of Obamacare and how it could influence the elections. University of Hartford assistant professors Bilal Sakou joined us. Don't go away. You're watching the Stan Simpson Show. Catch us 24/7. CTNow.com/Stan. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. Don't go away.